Am I the a-hole for siding with my wife when she refused to let my son install the lock his mom got him for his room? I married my current wife 6 years ago. She has a 14-year-old son and I have a 16-year-old son from a previous marriage. We normally don't deal with a ton of issues as a blended family. My stepson, Joshua, is nice to everyone and likes sharing a lot. It's his way of forming strong bonds. My son, Scotty, however, is the complete opposite. He hates sharing. It is very private. He takes offense to his brother going to his room and borrowing stuff from him. He hates that Joshua does it frequently, but my wife and I thought it was completely normal as long as Joshua returns everything later. Scotty started complaining about it openly lately, saying Joshua's gone too far with his behavior, taking stuff constantly without permission. My wife and I came up with a solution, which was getting Scotty safe to store his valuable possessions. But Scotty said this wasn't enough since he has tons of stuff and can't put it all in safe. It all came to a head last week when Joshua took Scotty's Lego collection to take pictures of it outside house, but accidentally broke a couple of pieces. Scotty blew up and got his mom involved. My ex-wife then bought and sent him a lock to install in his bedroom door the same day, which got my wife go mad, calling her disrespectful and overstepping to send locks over to our house. They had a verbal fight on the phone and I returned home to see my wife arguing with Scotty after he refused to return the lock. I asked what the heck was going on, and my wife said Scotty was expecting her to let him install the lock his mom sent to our house. She said neither boy is allowed to have locks. Scotty said he was done with Joshua taking and breaking his stuff, and begged me to say something, and convinced my wife to let him keep the lock. But I told him my wife was right, and that it was disrespectful of his mom to send a lock to our house. Scotty said if we're so against his mom getting him a lock, then I should get him one instead. But I refused, since my wife said neither boy is allowed a lock, so it's not like Joshua has a lock and Scotty doesn't. Scotty threw a fit, calling me terrible, and that he can't wait to move out and be done with our nonsense. We had Joshua apologize, but still Scotty isn't having it. My former in-laws argued that I was being unfair to Scotty after we complained to them, and told me to let him keep the lock and not side with my wife and her son. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Yes, you're the a-hole. I have news for you. Joshua is not nice to everyone. Being nice includes respecting other people's belongings and their privacy, but he's not doing that with your son. He invades Scotty's privacy, takes his stuff without permission, and apparently damages some of it. That's not sharing, for Pete's sake. That is taking without permission. We have a word for that, and it's not sharing. You are the problem here. You do nothing to correct Joshua's bad behavior or support Scotty in setting entirely reasonable boundaries for his privacy. You obviously favor your stepson and have zero respect for Scotty's need for privacy and security that his things belongs to him. Your ex was right on to send him a lock. Thank goodness she's looking out for his concerns, since you won't, and your a-hole wife doesn't think it matters. Fun fact, nice people typically don't steal. Fun fact 2. Taking without asking is stealing. You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. Poor Scotty. No privacy to one parent who doesn't stand up for him. If I was him, I'll move out. Don't worry, that's coming really soon. Part 2. My son moved out and doesn't want to talk to me. It says I'm the a-hole. But I just wanted to teach him sharing and completely disregard his boundaries and privacy. His mom shouldn't have gotten him a lock for your house without discussing this with you first. It's an adult issue that the child is now in the middle of, and he is going to resent you for it. You shouldn't let your wife get so explosive and make decisions about parenting without you, especially considering there is another parent in the situation. You should have been able to tell Scotty that she and you have to speak about this, because his mom did not mention this to either of you. At the end of the day, the lock should go on Scotty's door. He feels disrespected, and like he has no place he can go to be safe. With that being said, you can make a rule. If it's a lock with a key as opposed to one you can open with a coin, you, his father, will need to have a copy of the key as well, in case of any emergencies. As well, you will need to emphasize to him that he is not to have his room locked all hours of the day when he is in there. Set boundaries with your son and explain to his mother that she overstepped, and to please discuss this next time. What's stopping his wife from taking that key and unlocking the door for her son to resume stealing when Scotty is at his mom's or away? She can't be trusted to respect boundaries. I hope he has proved he has no backbone when it comes to her. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my wife parent my daughter? My wife and I, both 38, married a year ago after dating for 2. I have a girl from a previous marriage, Zoe, 15, and wife has a son, Saul, 16. My wife comes from a Mexican, deeply religious family. I'm an atheist, and so is my ex-wife. That means that we don't force any religion upon Zoe. But if she feels drawn to any of them, then we're more than okay with letting her find her own spirituality. My wife feels different. She has raised Saul to be Catholic, and my stepson has told her that as soon as he turns 18, religion is over for him. And that every time my wife tries to bring him closer to our God, it only draws her further away. I've tried to talk to my wife, but she refuses to listen and claims that Saul is her son, so the final decision comes from her and her family, not me. I had no other choice but to back off. But then my wife started to make some remarks about Zoe not being close to God and that we had to do something to save her. I said that my ex and I decided to let her do her thing in that matter long ago, and that my daughter wasn't damned in any way. Recently, Zoe got a boyfriend, and my wife is pretty much against the matter. She has tried to tell her that she's too young, that she shouldn't be doing that, because in the eyes of God, she was getting strained. Zoe tries to be polite most of the time, but told me that my wife is being misogynistic and that she feels disrespected. Every time that happens, I cut my wife off. Things blew up when my wife found out that Zoe wasn't pill. I was outside with Saul fixing my bike when I heard her yelling at Zoe. We both got in and I saw my daughter on the couch crying. My wife was going at her pretty hard. She called my kids some pretty nasty choice words and called me an a-hole parent for letting my daughter sin so young. But the thing is that Zoe's on a pill for something regarding her period, and not because she's sexually active. Her mom took her to the doctor and told me a few weeks ago. Zoe ran to her room and my wife asked me why I never told her, and I said that I didn't think it needed to because it was my daughter's privacy. She said that I'm not letting her parent my daughter, but I told her that as long as she tries to force religion on a kid, parenting is not a choice. Now her family's at me for letting my daughter take the pill and that it's only an excuse to sleep with his boyfriend. They said that she has to deal with her period naturally, but I don't agree. I am going to give a judgment for this question. Not a hole. You should support your daughter. She's old enough to know her own mind about religion. If the doctor prescribes her the pill for period reasons, that is no business of your wife and certainly not of your in-laws. She's old enough to have medical privacy. But dude, you're a total a-hole for marrying this woman. How did you not have a conversation about religion and about how much input you get into raising each other's kids? These are two of the biggest topics any marriage will face, and you seem to be completely shocked that your wife has gone down this path. I have a feeling you blew through a ton of red flags on the way to the altar. Not a hole. She said Saul is her son, so the final decision comes from her and her family, not me. So by her own logic, she needs to back off your daughter. Honestly, after she was shouting at your daughter, I would have left her. Maybe not for good, but until she got her act together, and probably some therapy. I drove Zoe to her mother, but I didn't want to leave Saul alone with her, so I stayed. I can't take him with me, so I'm doing the best I can for both kids. Everyone sucks here. You entered into a marriage with major incompatibility issues. Now it's negatively affecting your daughter. Well done. People with different religious beliefs and practices can 100% be in committed relationships together, as long as they respect each other's beliefs. From the way it sounds, Opie and his wife have been more than fine together for quite a while, and his wife's attitude has gradually become more disrespectful, with a sudden and full-on lurch into screaming at his daughter over it. Opie isn't the a-hole for that, but with the way his wife is acting now, he needs to consider his options for protecting his daughter. Not the a-hole. Perhaps they can. However, it isn't the case in this scenario. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for punishing my daughter this way for what she told her blind dad? My husband Rod, 52 male, is legally blind. He is not completely blind, but close. It's not a genetic issue, but a brain injury that happened when he was a baby. Rod is completely independent, but needs a little bit of help for reading small letters, cooking, typing on a computer, etc. Rod, in my opinion, is a great father and husband. My daughter Raina, 15 female, has always been a little resentful of Rod. Growing up, she didn't have the normal father-daughter experience. Raina's always been into sports, but because of Rod's incapacity to engage in physical activity that involves coordination, they were never able to bond over that, and Raina never forgave Rod for it. My husband feels especially guilty about this. Reina is going through her angsty teenager phase. She has been acting out, is rude with everyone, especially my husband. Reina likes upsetting Rod, and he never defends himself, so he's the perfect victim. We were going in our first family outing since the global panini started. To go out, Rod uses this big, chunky glasses that makes his eyes look huge, almost like a caricature. My husband is super insecure of his appearance when he uses them, and our family knows it. My daughter comes downstairs and with the most offended tone of voice she says, "Oh my God, Dad, are you trying to embarrass me? Your eyes look horrendous with those glasses on." I was pissed. I canceled the outing and told her to go to her room and to not come out until dinner time. Reina is big into her appearance. She wears colored, graduated contacts because, ironically, she needs to wear glasses, but she hates wearing them. She isn't uncomfortable wearing them or gets any headaches. She just doesn't like how she looks with glasses on. As a punishment, Reina will not be allowed to wear contacts for a month. I told Reina about her punishment and she is tremendously mad at me. She has a party in a week, and since the punishment is for a month, Reina will attend a party with glasses on. She's also returning back to in-person classes, so she will attend school wearing glasses. She says that she will apologize to Rod and will never disrespect him again, but I don't believe her. Rod chimed in and said that maybe the punishment is way too harsh, but I don't think so. Reina then called me names and locked herself in her bedroom. Rod says that I'm being way too hard on Reina and bordering a-hole territory, which is why I'm here. Now for the top comments. This seems like a proportionate reaction to me. She intentionally made a hurtful comment about someone's appearance. As punishment, she is not permitted to use something that enhances her appearance to herself, but she will still be able to function normally without. Not an a-hole. She's going to feel absolutely terrible about this as an adult, unless she's a narcissist. I wonder what the right way is to navigate this behavior? She obviously is insecure, which is a valid feeling, but you just can't crapple over your appearance because you're insecure. Maybe talk therapy, OP? Not an a-hole. Not an a-hole. I'm sorry, but this is really good for you to teach your daughter a lesson because she should not be disrespecting her father. If you let her get away with something like this, she'll think it's fine to do it in the future. Good on you for teaching your daughter morals and respect. Everyone sucks here. Taking away contacts, something she needs in order to see and function, is a harsh punishment. She should certainly be punished, but I think a better punishment is needed. Perhaps having her do volunteer work for people who are blind, or working with those who are going blind. It may open her up to the fact that she's lucky her father can see something rather than nothing, and how most people would kill to wear Coke bottle glasses as opposed to being totally blind. She has options. She can wear her glasses. She can then get an idea of how her dad feels. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not making sure my ex knew the names of our kids' teachers? My ex, 35 male and I, 36 female, divorced last year. In the beginning, we were pretty civil. Things have changed. It is pretty hostile with me. We have 2 kids together. I have primary custody of our kids and have them about 75% of the time. The decree states the kids are to go to school in the zone based in my residence. Since I had moved out after our divorce, I'm in a new school zone. I have made him aware over the summer that I need to follow the decree and transfer. He was very against this. Ultimately, it's my decision, but I try to get his input before decisions are made. I made sure the kids were okay with this transition to a new school, then registered them for school. I texted him to tell him they were now registered for the new school. No response. The next day, the school had a meet the teacher night. I texted him the teacher's name. No response. One of our daughters wanted a pink streak in her hair. I texted him to ask if he was okay with that. No response. There were a few other texts I sent with no response from him. I thought this was so bizarre because pretty much all summer he's been harassing me. Because of this, I have retained a lawyer to do a modification so a judge makes us use a parenting app to text. It should limit the harassment and horrible texts. Morning of the first day of school came and I was getting the kids ready for school. My phone was on Do Not Disturb. Checked the time and I had 17 missed calls from 7 a.m. to 7:25. Then he called again. I told him I'm doing their hair, but I'll put you on speaker. He starts berating me, telling me I ruined this special moment for him, that he wanted to see them off. He made it seem to the kids that I intentionally left him out of loop. Even though our homes are in different school zones, he lives close. I told him we are leaving for school in 10 minutes and he can meet us there. We hung up. I texted him the teachers' names again. He didn't show up. Later, I got many awful texts. He said I messed up his chance to see them off. He told me he needs to take custody of the kids for what I've done. He asked why he waited until the morning of the first day of school to make arrangements with me. I decided he blocked me because I called his new girlfriend's son a friend of our kids instead of brother. My kids had never said brother, but call him a BFF. He said I disrespected him and his family and this was my punishment. Him blocking me is like #goals because I know the kids need contact with him. But it was nice those few days not hearing from him. I feel like this is completely on him. Had he not blocked me, he would have received important texts regarding the kids and information on their new school and teachers' names. He also could have made arrangements the night prior after he was done punishing me. Lol. All he did was punish himself and his children. What if there had been an emergency? I could be blinded by my frustrations with him, but I need to know. Am I the a-hole? Man, you need to bring this up with a judge again. He legit is just harassing you. This type of attitude should warrant some attention from the judge. Not the a-hole, by the way. We have court in a couple weeks. This is just one of many examples where I'm pretty sure I'm in the right, but I could absolutely be blinded by my disdain for him. My attorney thinks I'm not the a-hole. He clearly is the a-hole. Also, he knew you were on speakerphone and berated you in front of your children. This seems one-sided as hell, and you're painting yourself as a victim and innocent person. Everything was good, then unexplained event, and now he's hostile. I told my children about changing schools, never confirmed they agreed or wanted to, and finished with, ultimately it's my choice. Screw him, but I'm kind enough to let him partake. Through your writing, it looks like your ex just randomly changed attitude, became awful, whatever, without any reason whatsoever. By the way, telling someone they messed up isn't mistreatment. Calling about your children isn't harassment. You really feel like the typical divorcee or ex. And to hell with gender here. Just being petty and making issues for the sake of it. Also, yes, he berated you over the phone. Put that on speaker though. Couldn't you have done better than manipulate the situation to your advantage?